let's restart again. So first of all, as I just introduced myself, okay, my name is Saif. Okay, so I'm a working professional on big data PySpark with AWS cloud. I've been training for the past 7 years, okay, and I'm a working professional for the past 8 years. I started my career working on Informatica as an ETL tool, and last 2017, early 2017, I switched my career from ETL to big data. And last recent years, I'm working on hybrid technologies like AWS cloud and on-premise. So coming to the day one session, so 5 days the demos are aligned. Okay, so today is day one. In this day one session, okay, what we are trying to keep, so I'll just try to play with couple of services of AWS. Okay, that is nothing but your S3, then EC2, and we'll be writing a code on PySpark. And finally, we'll be dumping the data to Mysql. Okay, in your projects, it could be Teradata. In my project, it's like a SAP team. Okay, let's understand like what was the requirement. Again, like it was a very basic, not I would say it was a basic, but again, like it is a very common requirement which you will find in your, if you are working in a banking projects. Okay, so this is like the cards data which I was receiving. Okay, so if you see, this is the cards data. In this cards data, okay, so we are having one column, and that column is nothing but a card number. Okay, and that card number was like this. So this was being sent by the source team, okay, which used to land at a particular layer, and with a CD setup, which is nothing but a connect direct setup, it used to land into my Hadoop file system, and then we used to process. So the same thing I'll try to do over here, means like we'll not replicate that connect direct setup, but what we'll try to do is we'll try to do the requirement as per the project which I was working. Okay, so we'll make of a little bit about this which I have drawn. We'll make use of this. At the end is, the goal is we just need to mask the credit card number. So that is like the first thing. It's just one of the scenario which I have removed. So we'll write a small function to achieve this in Python, and we'll make use of Spark as a distributed computer processing framework. That's what we are trying to do over here. Okay, so this is just a small scenario. What we will be doing is, with the help of WinSCP, we will be pushing the file to the EC2 instance. Just to save some time, what I have done is, I have already spinned up the EC2 instance. Okay, it's very basic, so I didn't want to waste the time over there. So EC2 instance is already up and running. If I just do present working directory, it shows me I am into my home directory. Okay, so I am done with that. So that's just spinning up. I have made it ready for us. The second thing is, once EC2 is ready, so what we'll do is we'll try to push this file which is available at source. So with the help of WinSCP, I'll try to push this file to EC2, and from there EC2 I can make it to S3. Now ideally I can directly go to my bucket also and do graphically also. Again, it's one and the same. It does not make a heavy difference. But in projects, it depends like how the architecture is designed and how the files are getting landed and how you are picking up the files on what format. So based on everything, you have something to take care of. Okay, so that's what we will be doing. Okay, so let's get started. I think like I'm almost so what we'll do, so I've just opened the WinSCP. Okay, I've connected to the WinSCP with the IP which is available or given by my EC2 instance, that is this. Okay, so you can find it, the EC2. So this is the IP address, the private IP which it gets connected with this public IP. Okay, so it's a very basic thing. You can do it very easily. So I've already connected. I'll go to my WinSCP. This is the file which I am interested in. So I'm just doing drag and drop, which you all do. And simply then what I will be doing is I'll be getting that file, cards data. Okay, so if you want to see first 3 records of this cards data.csv, you can visualize it. So it's just the same thing what you have and which we will be working on. Okay, now what I will be doing is, my AWS is already configured, but you just need to do for the first time, but it's already configured. So I'll not go with this thing because it's already done. Okay, why? Because if I execute this AWS S3ls command, I'm able to see one of the bucket. How I come to know this is one of the bucket? If you open a S3 console, I can see there is one bucket with some name. Okay, And why did I write AP South 1? Because I'm working in one of the geographical location which is closer to me. Okay, so I'm staying in India, so Asia Pacific, Mumbai, and that's where AP-South 1 I gave there. Okay, so it's like very introductory stuff, not much required. Okay, let's make a move then. So what we have done is we have pushed the file over here. Now what we will do is we will try to create a bucket, and the file which was sent from here, we will try to push that file over here. And once that file is available, we'll try to read that file, try to write some code based on this requirement, and we will try to transform this like this. And finally we will dump the data. Actually in my project there was one scenario, so I have just removed that from this. The reason is why I'm telling this, because here the card number was 16 and less than 16. So if it was less than 16, so that was belonging to a different continent and different cards member. Okay, for that we had written a small shell script, and we have excluded that and kept in a one different file, and that used to get processed with another code. So here what I will do is I will eradicate that in the PySpark code. I'll handle with a small code, that's just like a small piece of code, not much code. Okay, let's do. So first of all, what I'll try to do is I'll try to create a bucket. Okay, I'll try to create a bucket on S3, and it should be a generic name, and it should not be a name which has been used globally. Again, we'll not go into that. Okay, understanding of the concepts. Let's write some. So let's say big data demo. We'll try to create a bucket of this. So it's telling that is failed. So let's say I'll just try to give my name. Okay, so this name should be unique. That's what it tells. Okay, so if you see now, the bucket is created. If you just go over here, okay, if we go to the S3 and we cannot see that. If we just do a quick refresh, okay, we should be able to see that we just created big data demo Saif. Okay, as of now we do not have any files. I can do upload from here as well. Okay, but mostly once you go into the projects, you will always see black screen. Okay, so the working directory is this. I have a file over here. What I'll try to do, if you're familiar with the Linux command, then playing with the AWS also becomes easy. It's similar to your Linux commands. Okay, so I'm just trying to copy from this path. The file name is this. Okay, and I'll try to move to my S3 location which I just created. Okay, the bucket name is nothing but this. Let's copy this and paste. Sorry, so let's execute this. Okay, and the bucket name is big data demo Saif. Okay, so AWS S3 LS, and let's see whether it has been copied there or not through a CLI. Yes, I can see that file. Let's refresh here. We should see the file here also. So it was just a very basic thing which we did. Okay, cool. So these steps are done. Okay, so we are till here. Now the main thing starts. Okay, so what you'll have to do is you'll have to play with PySpark. I'll be using Python as a programming language. Okay, then I will be accessing this S3 bucket file, and then I will be writing the code. Okay, so let's start in that. So we all know what was the small requirement which we had it to do. Okay, so we'll try to do that. Let me go to the virtual machine which I have created. Let's log in that with some generic password which I have assigned, and this is a plain stuff over here. Okay, let's start writing the code, and let's see how we can achieve till the end result. Okay, so let's get started. Now I'll not explain or go into much of code, but I'll just explain a very high level over code. So don't get bothered about what I'm writing, why I'm writing, because all these, like, we start the training right from the basics. Okay, so I'm trying to import something. Okay, from PySpark.sql I'm trying to import Spark session. Okay, so in the early days when I started my career, we used to have like Spark context and Spark session. So nowadays it also has, but we generally go with the newer framework. Okay, I'm trying to create my main method and I'm trying to define my Spark. Okay, so Spark session dot builder. I'll try to give some application name. So the application name is nothing but I'm trying to read the S3 data. Okay, and let's be precise, and let's say we are just trying to do some masking of data. Let's try to give some master. Ideally in projects what happen is, okay, in project what happen, we have a cluster, a Hadoop cluster to be precise. Okay, in that Hadoop cluster what we generally use is either we use when we are in the development environment we use yarn in a client mode, and when we are into production mode so we use as a cluster mode. So as of now I'm working on my local resources, or I'm using my local resources to be precise. So that's why I'm using all the resources. Okay, and I'll just use get or create method so that it is available. It's just a very basic syntax and we will all get used to this. Okay, cool. Now why this initialization is there, because in the architecture, so Spark has a master slave architecture. So whenever you execute the Spark application code, the Spark as a session initiates a driver program which gets interacted with your cluster manager, then it negotiates for resources, and finally everything gets worked. So we'll not go into that much. So let's move ahead. Now what I will try to do is, first we'll try to access the file from S3, okay, and I'll try to view the data first. So that is the first thing. Okay, now whenever we need to access the data from S3 or AWS services, okay, there has to be an access key and there has to be a secret key. These are the two things which is needed. But when you are trying to access, so let's say I'm trying to create a simple data frame. Okay, I'll just show you first. So let's say spark.read.format. Okay, I'm trying to use my CSV format. Okay, let's say the option is nothing but I'm trying to give, let's say, header through. Okay, and option, let me use, and I'll just infer the schema. Okay, and finally what I'll try to do is I'll try to load the file from a particular location. Okay, and that location I know, so that's why I'm quickly writing that. Okay, so that is nothing but home, Saif, LFS. Under that I have a datasets folder, and there is one file which with the name like medicaldata.csv. Okay, it's just a small piece of code I have written. Okay, and let's try to see whether we are able to view the data or not. So I'm just trying to show the data, and let's view the first 5 records, and let's not truncate the data, because what happens is if the column data is greater than your 20 characters, it truncates. Okay, so I don't want to do that. So it just like, let's see if we are able to do this. Then what we'll do is we'll change this so that we can read the data from S3. Okay, and hopefully this should work. Until if there is any error, we'll try to read the code. We'll try to read the error. Okay, there are no errors. So if you see, I have written header is true. Let's see the file, how the file was looking like. Okay, let's see first 5 records, not much records. Okay, so it had the header, so that's why in the code I have written header as a true, and I have written infer as a schema. So what it does is it tries to evaluate the first 20 records. Based on that, it tries to infer the schema of an individual column. That's what it does. Okay, so that's why I have written these 2 lines. Okay, after writing these 2 lines, okay, so I just have written just load the data from a particular location. As of now I'm trying to read the data from edge node. I can read the data from HDFS file system also, that's fine, no issues. Now what we will try to do is, the requirement is not that. So the requirement is we need to read the data from bucket. Okay, for that we need to do a small change. Not load means while executing the code it will get that. So it's a very basic thing, don't worry about that. Now what I'm trying to do is complaining me that something is not available. Yeah, I don't have operating system as input, that's why it's complaining me. Okay, that is sorted, no issues. Now what we need to do is we need to use some Spark context of JVM, and we need to tell, okay, with the access key and the secret key, I'm trying to access my bucket from PyCharm as an IDE. That's why we need access key and secret key. Okay, so I'll try to build that in the sense like I'll try to create that. So from Spark, okay, from Spark there is one underscore that is, I think, from underscore that is Java Spark context. Okay, inside that I have Hadoop configuration. Okay, what I have, Hadoop configuration. So under Spark we have a Java Spark context. Okay, then from that I'm trying to use one of the method that is of Hadoop configuration method. Okay, and I'm trying to set few things. What are those few things? In the form of key and in the form of value. So the key is nothing but I just need to specify the file system which I'm trying to access is S3. Now why I'm writing A? Because this is the newer version of accessing S3, because the earlier version was classic, then it had a native, and then now it's A. So that's why I'm using the latest of A. From the file system, I'm trying to access S3, so I need to have my access key. Okay, so as I told you, right? So let's try to give the access key in the key. So I'll just copy this key from here. I'll go to my VM and place this over here. So I'll just do quick copy and quick paste, and I just need to change few things. From the access key, now I need to have secret key. That is also available with me because I kept everything ready so that during the session I should not be able to navigate here and there or move here and there. So this is my access key and this is my secret key. Ideally, this is not a suggestible way, because if someone comes to know access key, secret key, he can misuse it. Okay, maybe like after the session I'll delete this. Then what the other thing is, it is asking the endpoint. Okay, so we need to provide the Amazon endpoint. What we need to provide the Amazon endpoint, and that is like you will find on, it's like you'll find on that web. So it's very straightforward. That is nothing but S3. Okay, and then it's just nothing Amazon AWS.com. Okay, what I have done, I have assigned my access key and secret key. Now here I'll just be changing the path, because now I am not accessing this from my local file system or edge node, but I'm trying to access the bucket. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to access the bucket. So let's give the bucket path S3. So the bucket which we created, the name was nothing but big data -demo, right? So this was the bucket which we created, and the file name was nothing but cards_data.csv, which is available over here. You can take it from here also. It's not there that we need to go there, but it's already here. I would have copied from here also. It's like how you do things, nothing else. And now let's try to see whether with this secret access key and secret key, whether I am able to access my AWS S3 data or not. Let's execute the same piece of code and let's see what is the result. So if you see the Java bundle which I gave with the package and the same version, okay, there are some errors. We'll try to rectify those errors. Let's see what are the errors. Okay, so what it is telling is, okay, so IV default, okay, home safe dot IV to cache, com dot dependency, most recent call, spark dot read dot format. Okay, so let's see what is the issue. So I'm trying to read spark dot read dot format, same header is through info schema S3 colon. So this is like I'm trying to miss, maybe that is the reason because of which it is not able to access my S3 files. Let's re-execute this. And you'll get to know the errors because you keep working day in, day out, and you get to know, okay, so this is the version of this. Again, like I'm facing some error. Let's see what is the error. Okay, so it is trying to download some dependency. Okay, still stuck there. Okay, it is telling that Java null URI. Okay, so it is not able to find the. Okay, so spark.read.format option is headed, info is the schema. Then we are trying to access S3:A. The bucket name is looks good. So that is nothing but big data demo Saif, and the file name is nothing but cards data.csv. Okay, that looks good. This package is also just like I don't need to do anything. Let's so null URI. Okay, it's related to some native. That is the issue. Okay, so let me just cross verify this whether these things which I have entered whether they are correct or not. Okay, so let's verify those things. Okay, so spark dot underscore Java Spark context with the Hadoop configuration. So I'm trying to set the first one is S3A access key. Okay, so there is no problem in that. S3A then is the secret key. Do I have any typo? It does not looks like that. So fs s3a, and then one endpoint is over here, s3 dot amazon aws.com. Okay, it looks good. So what we could be the reason is, let's see, maybe like sometimes it expects few arguments, maybe like that arguments it is needing. Let's eradicate that. Let's re-execute this and let's see what happens. So it is telling sys is not defined. Let's import that as well. And let's re-execute this. Okay, so we are trying to read. Okay, that's good. Oh. Okay, we are facing one error. So it is telling that this artifacts already exist. Spark.read.format. Okay. Null pointer error. Okay, no issues. So as of now, what we can do is we can just eradicate for the time being. Let's eradicate this as well. Okay, we will switch to our
Safe,
own
sir. I think you added one more slash in the load method, I think.
load. I have all. Okay, I have extra. For file for my edge node, it is like a triple slash. Okay, but when it comes to, yeah, thanks for that. It looks like I followed that edge node approach. Okay, let's give a one try. If not, then it's just like accessing that is not a concern. So what we'll do is we'll try to push that on the edge node and we'll try to access from edge node, because the main concern is like we need to write the code to achieve the scenario. And I think the suggestion was hopefully right, because I was trying to go with my edge node mechanism. And errors are always welcome. So because until unless we don't get errors, so we do not learn with the errors. Okay, and that's what like rightly pointed. So we are able to access. Okay, so that's done. Now the main thing will start. So what we are over here, so we are able to access. Now what we need to do is the card number which we are trying to get. Okay, so we need to write a certain small code to mask it. Okay, that is what we need to achieve. Okay, so what I'll try to do is I'll try to do couple of things over here. What are those couple of things? As I discussed at an earlier stage, the credit card numbers or the card numbers which are less than or equal to 16 digit, we have written a small shell script in our project, okay, to eradicate and send it to the downstream team, because that was handled by a different team. But we were only responsible for this 16 digit card number. So on Wednesday, I'll be showing you a shell script scenario. Maybe there you'll come to know. So what we will do is, first we'll try to handle that in a code. I'll not do the shell scripting right from the beginning over here. So we'll handle that in a code. What we'll do is simply we'll try to filter it. It's not a big thing, right? Yes, I can do that. So what I'll do is I'll just try to count the cards of, let's say count cards length, any identifier name which I'm trying to give. Okay, so the data frame was my data frame which got created. I'm trying to use with column. Okay, and what is with column, etc. Let's not get bothered about. I'm trying to create a column that name is nothing but cards length. Okay, and here what I'm trying to do with some function, okay, first of all I'm trying to identify my 16 digit card number. So I'm trying to use length of column, and the column name is, okay, so I think let's go a little down. The column name is card number, right? So I'll copy this and I'll paste this. We are getting these two errors. It's just like small errors. We just need to import those things from PySpark.sql.functions. We need to import call and we need to import length, length. Okay, so this is just a small environment issue. So what I generally do is I just try to eradicate that from here. I tell that it's a syntax issue. That's why I just try to eradicate that. Okay, cool. So now let's go back to the code. Okay, now if you see that red marks which you are getting, I'm not able to get that red marks. Cool, that is done. Now what I'll try to do is I'll try to apply a filter. Okay, so what filter I will be doing is the column which I created just now with using the width column is nothing but this. It will have a length of some digit. The idea is I need to have greater than or equal to 16. That is what my thing. If you want to look into this, we can look into the code also. So quickly what we can do is, let's see the data and let's see first 5 records. Let's quickly execute this piece. And then you'll come to know how the piece by piece the code is getting transformed and how that is looking like. Okay, let's see that. So again, like ideally what this bundle will, it will download that Java SDK bundle and the Hadoop AWS which is required. Okay, so this was the earlier data which we were reading. Okay, and we were interested in the column was nothing but this card's length. So what I'm trying to do, okay, I'm trying to filter the records. So that's why I added this code which we have like written. Okay, so the code was nothing but we had written a small filter. I was trying to do a filter on the column that was nothing but the column which we have created just now. So that is the column. Okay, and we are trying to write greater than or equal to 16. So to do this work in my project, we have written a small shell script. With that script, what it used to do it is to remove those records with a while loop. It used to apply line by line on each row. It used to identify. We have written a small awk method. With that, we used to remove that and we used to clean the data as per the requirement. So here I'm trying to do, because it's not a project requirement. So I'm just trying to mimic the requirement over here. So what will happen is, with this, we'll get the required data on. Okay, I got that. If you want to view, definitely it will work because we'll have all the, so this will not come. We'll have all the records which is having 16 digit. Okay, so that was the first validation which we handled in script. Ideally, this is not a suggested method, but I wanted to show UDF also in this thing. So that's why, because UDFs are a little costly and it's not advised to use UDFs. Okay. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to create a user-defined function. What I will be doing is I'll be creating a user-defined function. So I'll try to create a function that is nothing but mask function. So this is like just a name which I'm trying to give, or let's say UDF, okay, equals to. And here I'm trying to use UDF. Now if you see, for this I'll have to import UDF. Okay, so let's import UDF. Okay, so moving ahead, if we are writing something, it will not give me an error. Now this UDF, it expects two things. What does it expect? It expects two things. So the first thing is nothing but the function which you will be creating. So I'll be creating a function with the name mask func, and it expects the type of that. So as of now, the type is nothing but string type, which again, like it should give me an error, but I'm happy with it. But I don't know why it is not giving, because I have not imported the types. So let me import that as well from PySpark.sql.types. Okay, so there are different types available. Ideally, it should have thrown me an error like a red mark, but it's okay, it's not throwing. Now what we'll do is we'll create a small function. what we will do, we will create a small function. Okay, so I'll try to create a function. That function name is nothing but mask underscore func. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to create a function, and that function is name is nothing but mask function. And I'll just take something. So let's say I'm trying to take a column value. Okay, I'll try to say of that if len of that column value which I am trying to take is equals to 16, then I'll go inside. I'm just trying to do one more validation over here. And I think let's make it string so that moving ahead will not get any errors. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, if it is equals to 16, I'm trying to write a certain code. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to write char list over here, and I'm trying to create, so why this is going up, let's bring it down. Okay, so this is just a name. Okay, identifier name you can say, or a variable name like in programming language. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to convert into a list. Okay, what the call val, and let me convert this as a string because it's in Python, so as of now I'm treating it that. Then what I'll try to do is, if it is equals to 16, I'm converting that into a list. Okay, once it is converted into a list, the variable or the identifier which I have created, I'll try to mask that from the 4th digit character till the 12th digit character. That was my requirement, right? So I'm trying to do that, and I'm trying to mask. So that is nothing but x and power of, let's say, and x into how many, 8 I think, right? Yeah, x into 8, so almost like 8 characters that we'll be doing, and I will be returning something. Okay, a function needs to return something. Yes, I'll try to return. So I have created this character list. Now I need to join that. So what I'll try to do is I'll create an empty list. In that I'll try to join all my char list which has been created. Okay, so I'm trying to create. Why that double is coming? It just required only one. Okay, and if you want to handle, because if you want to, let's say, if due to any scenario, let's say some bad records are coming, you can do something. As of now nothing will come, but I'm just writing a small return the same column. So what I've written is I've written a small function to check whether it's a 16 digit or not. If it is 16 digit, I need to start from here and I need to go till 8 characters, 4 to 8. So I just need to wrap it so that it gets masked. That is what my requirement was. Okay, so I've created a small function. Okay, so the function is created. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to call that in a UDF which I am trying to prepare. Okay, so let's do that now in the second step. So simply what I'll do is I'll create a data frame which will say a mask data frame. Okay, what was the earlier data frame name? So this is the earlier data frame name. I'll use that data frame name over here. Okay, and I'll create one more column that is with the name of with column. Okay, and let's say this is the card number and it is masked, something like that. I'm trying to give a column name. Okay, and the function which I have created, that is nothing but mask function which I created. In that I am trying to pass the data frame. So let's do a double click. Okay, let's do that. So in this what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to pass that, and from that I'm trying to pick the column, and the column name is nothing but card number, right? Because I need to apply on that. Okay, looks good. If everything is good, so hopefully we should get a result. So let's validate that whether we are able to get or not. So if you see some data is getting truncated over here, so let's try to remove that so that we can watch all the records. If you want to, like, if you don't want the entire thing to be viewed, you can comment it out, but for me, like, it's okay. Let's execute this and let's see if the function which we have written, whether it's getting validated or it's correct or not, or if there are any issues, we'll try to debug it.
Say why you have not used mask function underscore UDF.
mask function. Sorry. Thanks for recognizing it. So I should have used that. My bad. Thanks. Okay, let's re-execute this. Okay, so let it get executed. Hopefully that function is like a small function, so that will validate 16 records, 16 digit. Okay, so it is working. So okay, so we are getting good. But if you see, okay, so good. So we are getting this card number also, and we are getting this. So that was like required for us. Okay, so things are working. So in my project, actually, there were SSN numbers, there were emails, and there were like this card numbers. Actually, we had written this all these three functions in one of the .py file, and we were calling because that are being used by my colleagues as well. But here I showed in one thing because that's how the code was written. Okay, so that's it. So okay, so I'm able to mask the data as per the requirement. If you want to drop this column, what you can do is after this you can simply write dot drop. Okay, if you want to keep it, you can keep it. It's your call. And finally, what we need to do is we needed to push the data to MySQL database. Okay, so what I have done is I've just opened the database and I've kept it open so that everything is up and running. So I do not have any tables as of now. So what we will do is we'll try to write this data frame. We can write it to S3 Redshift, okay, based on the requirement. But in my project, we were passing this to the SAP team, downstream team. So here I've just replaced that with a MySQL database. Okay. So what we'll try to do is we'll try to write this df underscore, which is nothing but df underscore masked. Okay. I'll try to write this into again like mode. There are different types of mode: ignore, error, default, and override. Okay, I'll go with override if you're trying to, based on again it's all on requirement. The format which I would be using now is like a JDBC, because with the help of JDBC I'll try to connect and then eventually it will do all the things. For then there are few options which I need to pass. Okay, so let's pass the option in the form of key and in the form of value. So the first thing what I need to pass is I'll have to pass a URL. Okay, so it's nothing but a JDBC colon, I'm trying to connect to a MySQL database. We used to give the host name, but as of now I'm connecting to a local host on my machine, so that's why I'm trying to give local host. The port number is 3306. If you have any database, you can connect to that, Saif underscore DB. Now this is one extra thing which I am trying to write, because this is one of a small issue of my VM, because it gives some connection issues. So for that purpose I'm just trying to write this small line, that is use SSL equals to false. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to write to a MySQL database. Okay, so the first thing what I have done is I've specified my URL. Okay, it's just a common pattern. Again, for this we have written a common function, a reusable function, and we use like every time if there is a requirement we use it. But now it's just like a standalone code which I'm preparing. That's why I'm writing everything like on a hard-coded way. But ideally in projects, what we do is we create separate config files, the helper files, the connection files, and we write the codes over there so that it's reusable by the teammates as well. So what we'll do is over here, so let's move ahead. So then I need a driver program, a driver. As I have installed the latest setup in this Ubuntu VM, okay, so it's the same thing. So com.mysql, okay, then we just need to add this CJ, because this is the newer version. That's why because I have faced this error and I googled it and I came to know that. Even I didn't know that. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to define this. Okay, that's done. Okay, then I'll try to provide the, and again if you see I'm trying to write in multiple lines, I can write this in one go also. Okay, but again like it's just like, okay, so what is the table which I will be creating? Let's say mask cards table we are creating. If it is not created, it will get created. Okay, Then what are the credentials? So which is the user? For me, the user is root. And what is the password of that? Okay, so again, like, let's go with option, and let's say password, and there is a default, so there's a typo. So there is a default password which I have as aligned, that is nothing but welcome@123. Okay, and finally what I will say is dot save method. That's it. And finally, if everything goes well, so print that the data has been written. Let's say data written to MySQL successfully. Okay, if there are
Please
any,
check username, user spelling is wrong.
thank you so much, thanks. So if there are any errors, we'll see those errors over here. If there are no any errors, so hopefully we should get a message. Okay, so it's written. So I'll just quickly validate this. Override JDBC localhost, the database name is this, and don't want that SSL connection issue. com.mysql JDBC looks good. Let's execute this piece and let's see what happens, because we know, like, we were able to see the mask data. So the if issue comes, it could be in some like format or something will be, and let's see if there are any errors. As of now, I have not handled the exception, because in this we need to handle the exceptions also with the try and except block. Whatever the possibilities of the exceptions could be, we can handle those exceptions in the code as well. So I'm not written that, because again for that it would be like again I'll have to write one more function. So I'm just trying to save in the interest of time. Okay, cool. So it's giving us the message that data written to MySQL successfully. If that is written, let's go over here and let's see the mask table which we have there. So mask cards. This is the table which got generated or created. Quickly we'll try to see, select all the records from that. So select all the records from mask cards, and let's limit only 5 records. We'll not see the entire stuff. Okay, if it is redundant, okay, if it is your downstream is not asking it, what you can do is you can just drop that column with a drop syntax. But as of now, the requirement was we needed to mask the data, and that was like we had to do, and that's what we have achieved this in a very small scenario, which was one of my project requirement, wherein we were getting the data based on the card number. We used to validate it based on shell script. Okay, and then we have written small functions to eradicate that and mask it appropriately. And finally, we were sending the data to the SCP team. Here I have just replaced that with a MySQL database. You can replace it with any database, whether it could be Oracle Teradata. The only thing is the JDBC connection or the Ora connection or the port number of 1521, it can change. Rest all the matter and the code part will be the appropriate same thing. It's just like a small 50 lines of code we have written. It's not a huge code. It's a very small code we have written. But that's it for this. So what I'll do is I'll just stop the recording.